Let's get it. Put these things on. Get this video together. Get this brim right. Get a hit of this thing. We're about to get into it. You just turned 40. Happy born day. Shout out to the Sages in the building. Shout out to my brother Akibalon. He just turned 33, I believe. Yeah, shout out to the bro. Shout out to everybody in the building. Y'all pulled up. You're going to get an education of a lifetime today. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much. Just too much. Yeah, so shout out to my bro. Shout out to Nipsey. Shout out to the marathon. You know, we're going to go full throttle today. Y'all is in the building. You're going to get an education of a lifetime. And these qualify best as teacher moments. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to teach. You know what I'm saying? Today I'm wearing my green. Islam to my Moors. Today's color of the day is green, coinciding with the planet Venus. Today is Friday, governed by the planet Venus, coinciding with the number 5, governed by the color green. Hence the fact that Islam adopts the color green because what? They deal with Venus as the star or the Eastern star, right? That automatically appears right after Easter. So they coincide with the color green, and also the color green coincides with the heart. So that's why Islam adopts the color green, coinciding once again with the observance of the planetary body of Venus. And Venus coincides with what? 5. I was born on a Friday. So this be my day, right? And my baby as well, right? We Friday squared. Friday is my day, so this is normally when I cook. Shout out to my brother Malik Deshaun, right? He called it cooking with grease. So this is when I'm going to cook with grease on this one here. You feel me? So let's get this thing underway, y'all. Y'all already know how it go at this particular point. You know what I'm saying? We're going to open with the intro, and then we're going to go. We're going to press go. We're going to open with the intro, then we're going to press go. And we're going to get into a full-scale class, right, during the day. And you could tell a friend to tell a friend that we over here teaching and not speculating. We dealing with facts only. Shout out to the Facts Initiative, Facts 24 campaign, full swing. I hope brothers are able to respect the vision. I told my good brothers what was about to happen, right? Utilizing what's considered to be pillar predictions and forecasting, utilizing our insight for foresight to get ahead of the narrative and position yourself in the future for when this shit catches up to itself. So I told the brothers, I said, look, we got to frame this particular campaign as a political campaign because everything is going to be politics going forward. You feel me? Yes, everything is going to be politics going forward. So we got to talk about these pillar predictions. Red just showed up. Let me make sure that he sees these pillar predictions. Pillar predictions. Right? So we want to put things in perspective. You know what I'm saying? And we have made quite a few of these pillar predictions that we just want to revisit again. If I didn't say it, I would have no business re-saying it. You know what I'm saying? So I can't ignore the fact that it has already been said. So here I am, thinking of you enough to say, let me stop my day, go back into the DeLorean or the time machine, right? And we even got something for that. When we do that, right? These are assets that I'm utilizing. We're building out a new platform. You know, I can't speak too much on it, but when we get into our bag like that, you know what I'm saying, and we jump into the DeLorean. That's for all my pioneers. Y'all know what that means, right? Y'all know what that means when we hit that. We going way back. We going way back. We going into history, y'all. We about to give a history lesson up in this piece. And in order to do that, we got to go back. We got to go back into our ancient history to qualify the conversations that are taking place. Because all of these conversations that are taking place around biblical events, right? For the most part, historical events. And these historical events that are being discussed are, for the most part, steeped in religion, because these ethnic identities that people are ascribing to and that the whole world seems to be in an uproar about or argument, right? All of these things are somewhat steeped in some level of spirituality or religious observance. Case in point, right? And this is when it gets to the pinnacle point where we got to call bullshit for what it is. So they said that Ye got suspended last night, for posting a swastika inside of a Star of David, right? Or what they call a hex alpha, okay? Now, the implications of him putting up that particular symbol automatically means what? That he is either attesting or affirming his allegiance or his love for what he said, all people. He said he loves Nazis and Jews, right? Again, the quagmire of it all is that in order to be a Christian or be Christ-like, right, you have to have the fullness in your love for all parties, right? Because they say Christ even, they love thy neighbor, they love thy enemy. You feel me? Jews and Gentiles alike, okay? So he even has it in his heart that he is forgiven of all men and all things, even the people who are responsible for stringing him up. This is what they say according to scripture, right? And they got the whole world in a flux. They went around the entire planet and utilized murder and mayhem in the name of the Prince of Peace, so you too can be in proximity to the blessings, the benefactions, and the forgiveness of the Most High God, right? Your people were bludgeoned to death just so you could be open and receptive to the concept that somebody's, somebody died on the cross so you can have a blank slate, right? And you can have a blank slate and your sins can be absolved from you, but you still have to pay for your sins. I don't understand it. Maybe somebody else could help me out where I'm falling short. But I always thought, like, if Jesus died for our sins, then why are we still paying for them? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I got kicked out my first time to Bible school. I only had one trip, and they said never bring them back again. So if any of y'all know that answer, then you're more qualified qualified than me, then hey, so be it. But let me not go off on a tangent. Let me stick to the script. So, let's do this real quick. So they are saying that this tweet got him canceled. Right? This particular tweet that he put up, this was the deal breaker with Elon Musk and Twitter. Right? And he has been once again deplatformed for hurtful hate speech. Right? So now we're at a space and time where you don't even technically have to say anything. You just have to put a symbol up. Okay? And the symbol represents hate. Right? Or the symbol represents something that they say, and this is like a screenshot of a symbol. He didn't even get a good version, a visual of it. Right? So, once again, yes, how many times are you going to cancel and reinstitute a person? Right? How many times are you going to silence a person and tell a person what they can and can't say? Right? How many times are you going to tell people, yo, like, we're into everything, reprehensible about life itself, but we don't put that on the surface for the people. We keep them in Pleasantville. So you're rattling the cage at this point, right? Because America loves Hitler. Let's just keep it real. So this chastisement and this pointing of fingers towards people and telling them what they can and they can't ascribe to, when once again this country is full of neo-Nazis, and this government and the Christians nor the Jewish people ever declared open war against domestic terrorism, right? And these people who are pledging to be adherents to neo-Nazism in this country have utilized violence on many occasions to get their point across, right? So they are a verifiable threat. They even stormed the Capitol on January 6th, right? They have infiltrated every level of government, state, local, federal, right? Even possibly the executive office. There was a vile racist, a Ku Klux Klan member. You can Google this. I'll Google it along with you, okay? Because none of this is hidden. It's all historical fact. For all my pioneers going way back. So let's go to James Byrd. Senator. Hold off on that. Right? When Harry Truman dropped the bomb, it wasn't ultimately a decision that he made. It was a member of his cabinet. Okay? It was a member of his cabinet ultimately that made that decision for him. He was the 33rd president, right? And he drops the bombs on the 3rd and the 6th. I'm looking for the senator's name specifically, right? Thought it was James Byrd. But let's look at this. Truman and Byrd. This particular senator was responsible for making a decision This senator, though, was an avowed Klansman, right? And he made many statements on record about his disdain for the yellow people, or we call the yellow niggers. So his open virulence, his open, right? Because you can Google it right here and it'd be like Ku Klux Klan members in United States politics. You feel me? His name was Harry Byrd. Okay? He was from Virginia, of all places, of course. Right? He was an avowed member of the Klan. Okay? And he also served in politics. And he was in the ear at all times, all right, of Harry Truman. So there are many instances, you know, when people of service in this country, right, their service to this country has always been befuddled by their service to their other oaths and obligations, right, their fraternal orders. Because if you don't understand the history of the Klan is an esoteric occult organization. Hence the fact that the leader of this particular Ku Klux Klan was the top Mason in the country, you know, at the time, and still, because he's the author of Morals and Dogma, which is the Masonic Bible, if you will, you know, and that being, I can't believe I'm not remembering this dude's name right this second, right? I don't know why I'm catching a stump on his name, but it'll pop up in a second. Nonetheless, you know, it's a bona fide esoteric occult organization, okay? And it's a fraternal organization, so they take oaths and obligations. So it's impossible for them to even serve in a political capacity and take an oath to the Constitution and say that they're going to do what's right for the citizenship if their oath, right, and their obligation, first and foremost, is to their fraternal order and what it is that they take an oath and pledge to do. So these, once again, are neo-Nazis who have pledged to finish the job that, quote-unquote, Hitler has started. Now, where it gets real sticky at, and real interesting conversation, as Ye was posing his conversation yesterday, the news was coming out at the same time about a research paper that was released on Wednesday that detailed the most extensive research ever done on the history, the genetic history of Ashkenazi Jewish people. Coinciding at the same time, right? At the same damn time, this epic piece of research came out, right? But at the same time, as well, this article came out. Asian faiths try to save swastika symbol corrupted by Hitler, right? So there's a whole campaign that's going on in the entire eastern hemisphere of the planet where they want to restore the sanctity, right, of the name of the swastika, because this was one of the highest revered spiritual systems or symbols on the planet before it was usurped by the Nazis. Once again, who are an occult esoteric organization. So what they were operating in was metaphysics, right? They were operating in occult sciences and metaphysics in their attempt to channel what's called the Black Sun, okay? Dealing with, raising a master race or a Superman, okay? What this research also shows is that the origins of the Ashkenazis ties back to Germany, okay? And the intermingling, they said at that time, the genetic markers of the research of this Ashkenazi shows two separate ethnic groups. One that is German in origin and another that's Middle Eastern in origin. And anytime that they utilize the name Middle Eastern, right, that is in Africa. They're talking North African and they're talking Moorish or Berber. More so than Arabic, my niggas, not in Germany at that time. I'm going to show you better than I can tell you who they talking about. And they gave the genetic proof. Once again, they laid the evidence out to show you. How can these be God's chosen people, right? They just started the other day ago. And they got origin points and people who they came from. And we'll get into that. So, these are very antiquated ancient symbols, mostly from the Indus Kush region, right? Hundreds of thousands of years old. These symbols are, right? And they represent four corners, right? They represent four corners. They are four-dimensional glyphs to represent the four corners of the universe. They are 44 resonators. If you can see all of the fours up in them, but they're four-dimensional, right? Swastikas are four-dimensional, sigil. That means direction, but not just direction in this plane, astral direction. It's literally how you can get up out of here if you know how to travel. Right? Almost like Merkaba energy. Right? The equatorial cross with four angles. Right? Let's talk about it. Yeah. Yeah. This what we doing now? The swastika has a long, complex history, much older than its association with Nazi Germany, dating back to prehistoric times. The emblem was a sign of well-being and long life and was found everywhere, from the tombs of early Christians to the catacombs of Rome to the Lalibela rock churches to the cathedrals of Cordoba, Moorish. The motif appears to have first been used in Eurasia as early as 7,000 years ago, perhaps representing the movement of the sun through the sky as a symbol of well-being in ancient societies. The L shape, right? Also mimicking the fours, dealing with spinning cycles in motion, right? Spiraling motion. Okay? The L, the God, EL, the L shape, not L7s like squares, but the L shape that moves this thing. Spiral arms of the Milky Way, yes. How does this coincide with this bill right now? Because it's 144 people in the building. And this is a presentation that's sponsored by Four Corners. Four Corner News at that. Right? Where the truth is the proof that lies within the square. Get your Four Corners news over here. And get your Four Corners news over there. And get your Four Corners news everywhere. That was our sale jingle for Four Corners. It is our sales jingle for Four Corners. So this is personal. It's personal. I'm like, you know, it all comes back home. I have an opportunity once again to teach. Look, I gotta, well, I have to turn around, but it's the Four Corners logo. I gotta turn it around. It's bundled up. But shout out to JP. Shout out to Four Corners, Black Dot, Base Rikers, Paper Girl, you know, Red Pill, you know, everybody that was part of that initial, that push, that movement. Jackie, you know, everybody that played a part. Knowledge. When we was getting the news out in 2001 and beyond, dealing with this information because, you know, this is the stuff that the master teachers was teaching us, and we was able to break it down. Break it down. We was able to break it down, you know, and get this information to the masses. You feel me? And now we find ourselves qualified to come back here and have a continuance of this conversation because the times demand it. We are being, our mentalities are being usurped by someone who aggressively wants to control the narrative. And I can't fault them for that. But what you cannot do is you can't ramshard history. You can't ramshard the facts to work only for your narrative at the expense and the price of my people, right? And the truth. So we're going to stand and deliver, and we're going to teach. Okay? This is about something else. And it's only right, because this conversation has captured the social zeitgeist. And if we can get ahead of the conversation ourselves and be more thoroughly educated, then not necessarily you can become a subject matter expert, but you don't have to be so emotional, you know, and feel so left out of the convo because you don't have nothing to offer. You know what I'm saying? When this is our information, this is our knowledge, our ancestors is in our bloods, and we're going to wake them the fuck up so they can see this shit. And we can say, what says yay? What says you, ancestor? Or what you seeing and hearing? Because some of our parents and grandparents went into that war and kicked Hitler ass. So you know what the U.S. did? They saved them, and they brought them to goddamn South America, and they became the boys of Brazil. And they utilized their expertise and their research to create the OSS, which became the CIA. And then later on, they create NASA, right? And then to this very day, they're still in operation because the percentage of Caucasian people in this country, the largest percentage, are Germans. Are you serious? But the Ashkenazis themselves are Germans. I'm about to show you. Different civilizations associate the sign with outstretched hands, 4 seasons, 4 directions, or we're spreading light in all directions, right? So you can't shut out the light, right, and keep the darkness on the internet and the social media, but you want to block the light. So the hex alpha is a sign of light, as above, so below. And then the swastika is a sign of the 4 elements, right, or the tripedal aspect, the 4-pedal, right, not tripedal, but the quadrupedal aspect of reality, of which, as occultists and students of Kabbalah, which is mystical Judaism, we understand that as the tree of life. That's the tree of life, my guy. How you gonna tell yay that's a symbol of hate? Putting the swastika inside of the hex alpha is unifying both aspects of these symbols, 4 and 6, to bring about Diaz, which is 10, which is God, which is right here in a symbol called the tree of life. The tree of life represents the 4-fold aspect of humanity. Baby, can you get one of the Dog Star hip hop books out of that bin for me, please? Right? This is the tree of life. Starting at Bina, which is the crown, coming all the way down to Malkuth at the bottom, which is the kingdom, which where we represent. The kingdom is earth, right? The kingdom means physical matter. It's ruby red flesh, right? It's ruby red. That's the color that it represents, and it symbolizes flesh. It symbolizes matter, right? Things that are born out of the matrix, which is the womb of the mother. Are you crazy? Are you stupid? Who are they talking to? That's right. That's right. That's right. Tell them your website. Shit.
CosmicDust.com.
That's
y'all.
right. That's right.
Know thyself, y'all. Know thyself.
That's right. I be teaching her. She be teaching me.
Got to know that.
So we not over here confused as to what's going on in the news. You feel me? We not confused about what's going on in the news. But we do see them attempting to motherfucking pull a ruse. And they attempting to steal your ability to know thyself and to self-identify yourself as God. Because if they could be a fraud, right? If they could be everything else that they want to be, and you can't even speak to them or talk to them or ask them a question, then you need to stand on your godhood and make sure that nobody's saying a motherfucking thing to you either. Right? But you have to be able to stand on it. That's the difference. You can't be God in word alone. It's an active verb. It's called Godding. It's an active principle. You got to be in action at all times. And no disrespect to God. You feel me? Or this concept of what the Jewish people consider to be Yahweh. But when you know the science and you're able to put God in a box, then you don't got to answer to them. You don't got to answer to nobody. Because you like your big homie answer to me. Okay. You see that 13 and that 13, it equals 26? God is a 4-letter word according to Torah and what the Jewish rabbis and all of them speak about. They say God is a 4-letter word and it numerically equals the number 26. But when you break 26 down into 13 plus 13, it's 4 plus 4, right? We already did the knowledge. Okay, God exists between a square and a cube mathematically. So when you understand the mathematics and all things is number in the universe, then you can get outside of this box that they got people trapped in. I'm not kissing nobody's ring. You feel me? They got me fucked up. So this is what they're talking about, right? Again, the tree of life, the fourfold aspect of reality. Okay? That's what that swastika in essence represents. The swastika, the earth, and its migrations. The National Museum of History of Ukraine houses a wide range of objects featuring the symbol. The oldest is probably a mammoth ivory figure of a bird found in 1908 with a Mendering swastika pattern on it that was carbon dated to 15,000 years ago. Seals depicting swastika motifs have been found in the Mohenjo-Daro and Harappan ruins in Pakistan. And I'm about to say this once again, and don't take this as a disrespect on the day like Friday, a holy day for Muslims all over the world who adhere to the aspect of Abrahamic religions, right? The 3 religions. Okay? But what I'm saying and what I've been said is that we have to understand that we are speaking about remnants that come from high civilization. Okay? Remnants that come from high civilization. And these high civilizations mastered mathematics, right? By evidence of their architecture. So if you have mastered mathematics by evidence of your architecture, then it is showing that you are high society and high science civilizations, right? Why would Allah, why would God, why would Yahweh allow people who were without God to acquire the intelligence factor necessary to develop high science and architecture, art and science? Then you will come and destroy those civilizations to replace them with sheep herders and farmers who never built nothing, who have not exhibited any evidence of high science and mathematics. We can't say that necessarily for today because they have taken that information and they have definitely built with it. You know what I'm saying? But look at what these symbols have represented throughout time. These are people who are highly intelligent, who knew how to think, right? Who developed a concept of a deity on their own. Why would God leave these people alone just to show up for Jews or Hebrews 6,000 years ago? And the earth been a game that's been playing for millions of years. I'll show you what they saying right here in science. Like, I ain't saying this shit. This is what they saying. And it's coming out of Israel. So how could you say that? That you find in all of this stuff that rewrites the historical record, but you never changed the biblical record? And this is what your existence is hedged upon the crux of this thing being historically accurate. So you can't move the metric at all or everything falls apart. I'm telling you, they're moving the metric and everything has already fell apart. They're just not telling you that. They got you caught up in these motherfucking arguments and conversations about things that shouldn't make no sense or shouldn't mean anything to you if you don't know how to use them anyway. How have you been using any of this to your benefit? Right? Something happened in Ashkenazi Jews in medieval Europe to eliminate their diversity study finds. Right? Let's get into all of it. Like, I kid you not. The motherfucking universe is conspiring for our success. And giving you sauce. So you could go up in here with cooking grease and do what you need to do. Right? Because they fucked up when it was like, oh, you just don't got no history and you don't even got a seat at the table to speak on behalf of your ancestors. We're not going to do that. Right? They have a high propensity for disease. Genetic mutations such as those in the BRCA1 gene associated with an increased risk of breast and ovarian cancer. This can't be God's people. This genetic burden. Hold on. Wait. What the? Hold on. Humanity is doomed. Are you telling me the chosen people of the planet Earth got a genetic mutation? That is a genetic burden? What the fuck was God thinking? No disrespect to the big homie. I'm saying they out here misrepresenting your name and doing you wrong. I'm riding, right, for the just cause of restoring the balance and the respect on the name of the Most High. Because the people, they tried it. They tried it, big homie. They tried it. This genetic burden suggests that the population was saved by what geneticists call a founder event or a bottleneck. In other words, a small number of foremothers and forefathers contribute much of the modern gene pool. As the population grew and the descendants of these founders had many children, disease mutations that were carried by the few founders became widespread. One of the most striking features of Ashkenazi Jews today is how genetically homogeneous they are, with almost no discernible differences in ancestry between Ashkenazi Jews across the world. Do you understand what they're saying to you? They're saying two things. And anybody, if you live in Brooklyn, step the fuck up and co-sign this, not because I'm telling you to, but because you know what I'm talking about. Right? And look, they right in my own complex. I could go right up the fucking block with the camera on some media journalist shit and turn camera on them and be like, this is what I'm talking about in real time. And I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not being anti-Semitic if I be like, yo, these motherfuckers engage in inbreeding. And the evidence of it, look at their children got on bifocals, right? They got the buck teeth with the bad skin. You know what I'm saying? The girl, she like 20-something. She got 3 children. But they're inbreeding. They have these genetic mutations and no genetic variety in their stock because they inbreed. They keep it all in-house, right? But the mutations are persistent and consistent because they're passing them to one another. They have never dealt with diversity, and that's what's going to, hopefully one day take the mutation out. If they are able to subsist that long. Right? Man, listen. I don't, Kanye. Look, and it's not about, look, this is not, again, this ain't hate speech. This is you understanding the dynamics of what you're surrounded by, the people who are having conversations with you and about you, right? So you can be better prepared and you can make better decisions. You feel me? This is not for you to run out there and go ape shit with. That's not what this is for. This is for your own reasoning, your own understanding, right? And your own mental defense systems. Stop allowing people who do not have ancient motherfucking roots to tell you who and what you are. They just got here. And they don't even got motherfucking clear sight yet. Because they got on bifocals every time you see them. Because they got genetic mutations. Previous studies of the genomes of Ashkenazi Jews living today made it clear that the founder event occurred in medieval times. Nigga, we do not come from medieval times. We are a fucking ancient people. They're talking Moorish times as medieval times. They just got around here. I'm going to show and prove. But the earlier geographic origins of the Ashkenazi ancestors are poorly understood. The first historical records of Ashkenazi Jews are from the Rhineland in Western Germany in the 10th century. In the hundreds of years that followed, an increasing proportion lived in Eastern Europe. Despite periodic persecution, the number of Ashkenazi Jews grew and peaked at more than 10 million. All right? That's it. That's it. You feel me? These are not an ancient people. These people just got around. The medieval times are not long ago. Do not let Game of Thrones fool you. Don't let them fool you. And I'm going to show and prove to you that that's like modern history. Now, they're speaking about their origins coming from from Germany, right? The Germanic ones, right? The Goths and the Visigoths. This is who they come from. The same people who they say are their enemies, right? Because they were attacking them to say what? They said that you were not ethnically pure. You have Moorish blood. You were exposed to them in North Africa, and you have been genetically mixing with this version of quote unquote Hebrew. Okay? And we have to get you out of the mix so we can get back to a Nordic stock, as opposed to one that they consider to be stained with melanated blood, right? Because what they also said, again in the research, they said that there was 2 distinct groups that made up their genetic pool. And one of the groups they said came from the Middle East, or what they consider to be what they call, they say the Middle East, but they're really talking about North Africa. Feel me? And then their exposure in Germany to the melanated Moorish strain. I'm going to show and prove that to you right now. Right? Hold on. Again, y'all, it's not hate speech. This is actually love speech. This is all in the spirit of love, you know, because that's what the truth represents. The truth shall set you free. And the only way that we participate in anything that is remotely misunderstood or categorized as hate is based on a misunderstanding. You can only hate if you don't know something, because you fear the things that you don't understand. And that's how you get into hate. You know, we both have been lied to as a people. We're both out here operating fully off of lies. You know what I'm saying? And it's impossible for us to see one another when, you know, that's the lens through which you have been given to see reality. You know, a foggy one that has been cracked and compromised. You know, that's not you. It couldn't possibly be you. You feel me? We don't have the capacity to hate. It's just not us. You know? But let's get into this. Because when we trace the origins back to Germany, Germany's the same place specifically that they say they come from. The Saxons came from there as well. Who are the Saxons? These are the people now who sit in the British monarch as the quote-unquote royals. And we're going to show you how all of this news ties together. That's what we do here at Four Corners News. We go all over the four corners of the earth and we give you a holistic view of the news. And we put a little hip-hop in it because we're a hip-hop newspaper originally, right? But we're going to give you a holistic view so you can see this shit. You can see how all of these parts are connected, because, kid you not, right? There's no separation whatsoever. Yeah. Cosmic Dust. They still sending cash apps from the Messy Messiah from last night. Yeah. That was last night's. Last night's class was, you know, the Messy Messiah. You know. But we're going to throw that cash app up there again. Because this is given. I know it's given. What was the Holy Roman Empire known for? The Holy Roman Empire ruled over much of Western and Central Europe from the 9th century from the 9th to the 19th century. It envisioned itself as a dominion for Christendom, continuing in the tradition of the ancient Roman Empire, and was categorized by strong papal authority. Right? But what they don't speak about is during this period of the Holy Roman Empire, the influx of Moorish popes in Germany specifically. Shout out to the Soul Brothers, that is Black Dot, Knowledge Born of Law, A.A. Rashid, and True Master. They just celebrated the, either the 14 or the 17-year anniversary. And last Thursday, I was on a program with Black Dot and Knowledge Born of Law celebrating that anniversary. And these brothers went to Bavaria, Germany, and they did a demonstration called The Return of the Soul Brothers. And this is where True Master laid out the unprecedented historical history about the Moorish popes that was in Germany, right? Running shit, terraforming that entire society. They tell you about Spain and the Iberian Peninsula, but they never get around to the Roman or the Moorish presence in Germany, in ancient Germany, right? And how they put things in play, and then really understanding and overstanding that concept and that particular origin point. You understand the Illuminati coming out of Bavaria later on, and you also understand this concept of a black nobility, right? Which is an unfounded claim, you know, but one that has very, very, very strong roots that says that the people pulling strings behind this is black nobility at the end of the day. You know, I wouldn't say, oh, they look like me and you. No, but they are melanated. They got melanin in their blood, right? And they're Moorish. And you have to understand what that word means in a historical sense, as a if we will a global classification, as opposed to one that fits into the Western mind, where you're like, oh, I get it. You mean the brothers with the fez on with the temples? No, globally, that's not what that means. It's not what that means. Right? So there's a Roman Empire and there's a Holy Roman Empire. And they're two different, distinct time periods and empires. Right? Let's see. Is there a difference between the Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Empire? The Roman Empire was the state that evolved out of the Roman Republic shortly before the birth of Christ and continued to exist until May 1453, when its capital, Constantinople, was captured by the Sultan Mahmud el Osman. The Holy Roman Empire was essentially a Germanic kingdom that had conquered previously imperial lands in what is now France and Italy and evolved into a confederation of squabbling German kingdoms and duchies that slowly coalesced into ever larger kingdoms such as at Hanover, the Palatinate, Prussia, Austria, and so on until it was dismantled in August 1806 after the empire was decisively defeated by the Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay? So, during this time period, again, it saw the unsuspecting rise of the Moorish popes all throughout Europe. And there was evidence of them prior to that as well. Right? They even had something called the Kingdom of the Moors and the Romans. Right? Nobody talks about that. Christian Berber kingdoms. Right? Ancient Roman provinces of Mauritania. The kingdom was first formed in the 11th century as Roman control over the province weakened and imperial resources had to be concentrated elsewhere, notably in defending the Italian peninsula itself from invading Germanic tribes, right? It's going to keep going back to the Germans, right? Trump himself is a German, right? It's going to keep going back to this concentration and this conversation around these Germans, okay? Common language, bourbon, African romance, right? Religion, Christianity. Okay? It's not what they think it's never what they say it is. But it's not what you think it is either. You know? Moorish emperors in Rome, right? The African Roman emperor, Marcus Opilius Macrinus. Okay? Yeah, Lucius. They got a Lucius up in there too. And then they're going to gloss over and give you a lot of renditions and say that, oh, some of these were quote unquote white Romans. Right? You know, they're going to do what they do, but they damn sure have some undeniable Africanoid, melanated popes, right? They're going to give you Septimus Severus, right? Septimus Severus was born in what is now Libya and became Roman emperor. Yeah, Gladiator gets into some of this as well, right? 4 Roman emperors born in Africa. Okay? Four Roman emperors born in Africa. And then, of course, we can go into Christianity itself. right, and see all of the saints, okay, the melanated ones in particular, right? One of the most famous being Saint Maurice, okay? Saint Maurice was an Egyptian military leader who headed the legendary Theban Legion of Rome in the 3rd century and is one of the favorite and most widely venerated saints of that martyred group. He is the patron saint of several professions, locales, and kingdoms. Okay? So this is 287 AD. I mean, because some people believe the narrative, once again, the false narrative that's going to be told to you, where Europeans are like, I ain't even seen, the first time I saw black people was on the slaves of, where they said that they got them from. West Africa. That was my first contact. I had no idea that these people even existed, just like they didn't even know that America was around. But the planet been here for millions of years. But these people are spreading a religion around the world that they didn't know existed on the other side. And before they even knew that these people was high civilization, they was over there destroying and decimating all of their high civilization to replace it with the religion of a sheep herder. And you don't see why the ancestors are so upset. Benedict the Moor, right? Who's a 44 resonator. Benedict the Moor. Okay? Benedict the Moor is very famous for his benedictions, right? This is where Benedict Arnold comes from. Okay? This is Benedict the Moor. Again, they keep saying that they never came into contact with you. They don't know who you are. You don't have a story. You feel me? You niggas is slaves and Slavs and shit like that. Right? The history of black Roman Africans. Black emperors. Of course, and when rocks cry out, they turn the entire table upside down, speaking about black Greeks, black Romans, black Hebrews, black everything, all black everything. Shout out to Horace Butler. I found my my Facebook memory, right? That showed that I interviewed that brother 12 years ago. 2 days ago. It was like 2 days ago, 12 years ago. We was talking this conversation on the internet, in front of the world. Early podcasting. Shout out to Know the Ledge Radio. All right. So we fast forward to today, to yesterday with Ye. And him having a conversation about pornography on the internet, right? Pornography on the internet. And once again, showing you, even I showed an article 2 weeks ago about Germany, and Germany has an open sex market, right? They said that the 1.2 million men, right? 1.2 million men get served a day in Germany. And they said that it's a necessary civic offering because it lessens their urge to go and rape women and children, right? So they take it out on the prostitutes. I did this. I read the whole article online the other day and showed you, from their mouth exactly what they speak on and how they giving it up in 2022. They said that that's a public service. And if not for that, they would be out there raping women and children. So this is how they give it up. You feel me? And they're unapologetic about it. So you might be stumped as to what's going on with Balenciaga and not understanding why these people, peace, my brother, refuse to back off and back down and take anything off of their backs. They like, nah, we gang, nigga. What part don't you understand? Right? Y'all is in the business of telling everybody what you believe in. They in the business of living what they know. There's a difference. And it's for you to find out and figure out. But their rule is to never tell you, right? They rule in secrecy. It's called a cryptocracy, my nigga. When you rule in secrecy. Feel me? So Francis he warns the seminarians that pornography weakens your soul. The seminarians, right? There's people who are being primed with this energy and this entity that enters them, that they want to go and rape children. He's telling them watching porn is no good. And keep all that shit bottled up. And keep your semen retention going. So you can create more crazies out here in the world. Right? But again, coincidingly, while this conversation is taking place, Exorcist says porn addiction opens the soul to demonic possession. Right? So once again, it's interesting that Ye's having this conversation at the same damn time about his porn addiction, about over-sexualization, also why he refuses to speak bad about Satanist brands. But he loves everybody as the child of God. He even loves Satanists. Right? He even loves Satanists. So this exorcist is saying that porn is allowing demonic possession, right? And I can't even argue against that. Right? So again, you know, this concept of a people going through what's considered to be, you know, trials and tribulations, and, you know, people criminalizing their humanity and denying them basic God-given dignities or what have you. You know, everybody seems to want to control that narrative. But your narrative should be one that you are adopting that is triumphant. You know what I'm saying? Who wants to own the slave narrative? But we also should not be dismissive of it. And you also can't allow someone who is still looking for the roots of their history. Because this information about the Ashkenazis just came out yesterday, on Wednesday. They're still looking for their history. They don't even fully understand and know who they are from their genetic origins. But they have the right to tell you in every trip who you are, to fund multi-billion-dollar, you know, funding going towards depicting you only as slaves, right? This is what you have to look forward to. You feel me? And then they spoke about the fact that they refused to unearth the tombs that they discovered these Ashkenazis buried in. They only would take the tooth out, and they had to have a rabbi present for the entire ceremony because they said that their religion prohibits them from desecrating graves. Did you hear me? Can you believe what I just said? They had the caucasity to say that they cannot exhume the entire body when they found the graves of these medieval Ashkenazi ancestors. See what happened? They had got ran out by the Germans, right? So the Germans sealed their cemetery, right? And built on top of this shit or some crazy shit like that. So they preserved the bodies. So now they found the gravesite, they unearthed it, unsealed it, but instead of exhuming an entire body and doing DNA genetic stuff, they can only take out a tooth. Because they said it's against their religion to exhume bodies. But this is the 100-year anniversary of Tut. I'll show it to you right now. And they're going bonkers in the science world about their fascination with the exhuming of that tomb and how much they have learned, and they're still cracking cases and codes to this day. Right? To this day, they still cracking it all the way open, pause. And they got King Tut busting it open all around the planet, making them billions on world tour. They sending this nigga's body. When they open up the moon, they're gonna send Tut up there on tour. You feel me? But yet, it's against their religion, they said, to exhume bodies. Right? So why not the outcry? If not even you, right? If not even you, why not the outcry to make sure that it's not done to somebody else in your field or your profession? So no Jews or archaeologists, no Jewish people or archaeologists, right? That don't even make no sense. But the respect that they have for their ancestors prevents them from digging up their bones and disturbing their resting place. But for your ancestors, oh, they're going to tear the whole shit up. They're going to parade them. They taking pictures of them. They putting the pictures on the internet. They doing CAT scans on them. They eating parts of them. Because that's what they was doing with the stuff that they was exhuming in Kemet. And it was a big battle between Kemet and Britain at the time, because Britain wanted to take the body and all of the findings, because Kemet was allowing them to come in there and rent out. As archaeologists, they could rent out, tombs. Like, yeah, I want to excavate here. Let me pay for this. All right, boom. They'll buy out the whole lot. And then whatever they find, they just got to bust the government down with a percentage. But when they found Tut, they was like, nah, nigga. They reneged on their contract and they fell into beef. Right? Because they like, you're not playing by the rules. And they like, yeah, we're going to change them. Y'all can't get that. Right? And that was neither one of their ancestors. So these are the games they play. Toxoplasma. Wave function. China. Right? And yet and still, nobody spoke about the white supremacists that pled guilty to killing off all the melanated people. Right? They just said that they found another skull that sets back the historical birth record by damn near 1 million years. God got a lot of explaining to do. God got a lot of explaining to do. So I don't know if y'all seen this, but it's worth, revisiting, especially when we're talking about the Franks.
And they say that COVID is dangerous. And then you watch the black... that they can sit and say, well, they knew what we were doing and they didn't stop us. They were complicit. Yes. Complicity is what Satanists believe in. They don't want to outright lie to you and trick you. They have to tell you. This is why the Georgia Guidestones say we're going to reduce the world population. This is why they will say to you things like, listen to this. Imagine this for a second. Imagine you're at home and they say that COVID is dangerous. And then you watch the Black Lives Matter protests, and they say that Black Lives Matter protests don't spread COVID because the cause is noble. And then after that, you still get the vaccine to protect yourself. And still don't meet your friends and family or go to the funerals of your loved ones. If you're that stupid, you deserve the consequences. No, but this is understand, please. But they're right. They're right. They're right. The Satanists believe if you're that stupid, you deserve the consequences of not seeing your family members, of not being able to run your business and losing your job, of potentially dying from the vaccine. They believe you deserve all of these consequences because they've made it very clear to you that the whole thing is bullshit, and you agreed with it anyway. Balenciaga is not accidentally, repeatedly trying to tell you that they're supporting pedophilia. They're telling you on purpose. They believe in their religion there's no karmic reprehension for themselves. They're not going to face any consequence for their actions. And most people don't understand this. Once you understand how Satanists work and why they show you what they're trying to do, then the whole world makes a lot more sense. This Balenciaga thing is not just a messed up advertising campaign and stupid cookies and little hidden things. No, this is pedophiles telling you they're pedophiles. Genuinely in real time.
Real time.
They're trying to do. Then the whole world makes a lot more sense. This Balenciaga thing is not just a messed up advertising campaign and stupid cookies and little hidden things. No, this is pedophiles telling you they're pedophiles. Genuinely in real time.
Just in case you didn't hear it.
And they say that COVID is dangerous. And then you watch the black...
Hold on.
That they can sit and say, well, they knew what we were doing and they didn't stop us. They were complicit. Yes. Complicity is what Satanists believe in. They don't want to outright lie to you and trick you. They have to tell you. This is why the Georgia Guidestones say we're going to reduce the world population. This is why they will say to you things like, listen to this. Imagine this for a second. Imagine you're at home and they say that COVID is dangerous. And then you watch the Black Lives Matter protests and they say that Black Lives Matter protests don't spread COVID because the cause is noble. And then after that, you still get the vaccine to protect yourself.
And still don't meet your friends and family or go to the funerals of your loved ones.
If you're that stupid, you deserve the consequences. Oh, no, but this is understand, please. But
So, I played a Pillar Prophecy media thing after this, but I've been told you that this was about to happen, right? They're going to utilize and bottle in all of the marginalized group that you can't say nothing about, right? And they're going to put them all together and they're going to create a dragnet around anybody who's saying anything bad about these people who feel so pressurized that you can't talk about them. So the LGBTQ community with the Jewish community along with the immigrant community, all Democratic favorites, right? This is going to be the political liberal left, beating campaign, beating of the drum campaign. We got to keep these marginalized groups all safe because there's a big threat against them. The big bad wolves are coming to get them. The Nazis have unified with the black Israelites and they all coming for us. You know what I'm saying? The conscious people and the woke know that because the woke is the buffer zone, so we can't even mention them. You feel me? But it's just lies on top of lies on top of lies that they are throwing at you. You feel me? Lies on top of lies on top of lies, that are being propagated and pushed your way to keep you totally befuddled at the conversation taking place. And the conversation taking place, even though there's one taking place around race, I really feel that, that is a scapegoat. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, we have a very poor understanding about race. You know what I'm saying? And we think that things are only what they appear to be. It's more about bloodlines. It's more about families. These people are part of a melanated bloodline, whether you want to believe or adhere to that or not. And this is, historical echoes of when the Moors was in Europe. And and you had to have Moorish blood to be part of the monarchy, right? The black nobility is still in charge. I don't care what they're talking about with these, once again, befuddled conversations around race, which is a construct. These people are colonists and they have a level of arrogance, and people are confusing that with racism when it's deeper than that, right? When they're like, oh, Harry and Meghan, they polluted the bloodline, you know what I'm saying, by having the baby and all of that. That's just them returning back to their Moorish roots. Okay? She don't have no idea, I would assume, about maybe that aspect of the Moorish history and how it overlaps and coincides with the historical echoes that are getting louder as more and more people discover the truth. But these are the conversations that are enraptured in it, and we don't have the ability, based on lack of visibility, to see the holistic nature of these news articles or these news stories, how they all connect. So right now, the Europe or the England is being roiled by a racist controversy, quote unquote, dealing with the royals, where this melanated lady, this sister of ours, right, was asked by Queen Elizabeth's right hand, veteran palace aide, Lady Susan Hussey, right? She was asked by a hussy. They found out that they got Karens in Europe, and now they surprised. Come on, son. Now it's national news. Oh, we found a Karen in Buckingham Palace. Are you fucking serious, right? This is news, right? We're having a global eureka moment in 2022 about alleged racism, so-called, quote unquote. Right? And what exactly does he ask her again? Do you remember the exact question? Which part of Africa are you from? Right? Because she was like, you're not British. Are you Moorish though? She wouldn't ask her that. Right? I mean, it's like nobody has the defense to motherfucking back these devils up to be like, oh, y'all forgot your Moorish history that quick? Because you forgot your Moorish history that quick. That you can't remind them who the fuck was in charge over there? Right? So they're hosting the president of France in the White House, right? The freakish French. The Franks is in the White House right now partying with Hunter Biden and Joe, right? Real talk. I'll show you the pictures. Okay? They know the history. They know the secret, right? But the secret is out the bag. Alex Jones told the whole fucking world last night what the secret was, but nobody's talking about the secret. Everybody's talking about the bullshit. Oh, yeah, he loves. So what? He's a fucking Christian. He loves white Jesus. Which one is more dangerous, white Jesus or Hitler? Huh? Munch on that. Munch on that. Which one is more dangerous? Hitler or white Jesus? So this nigga, his brain is already fried. But he's allowed to, once again, it's his human right to adore, revere, or lay love at whosever feet he so chooses. Right? If you got once again, you would allow grown people to make love to children and not say nothing about it. You allow a man to put a wig on and call himself a woman and not say nothing about it. Motherfuckers can marry animals probably at this point in legislation, and you wouldn't say nothing about it. Right? You got legislation passed that said a gender can marry a gender and say who they love and stand on that. So you've already removed all the barriers to say, oh, what's okay and what's not about who can love who. You don't have a right to say that because man was given free will. So it goes back to separation of church and state. The church is you, the body of Christ. You are the temple, right? And again, whether you ascribe to the shit or not, you live in fucking America, nigga. Get over it. The law is tied into ecclesiastical law here. And the conundrum is, does the law of man supersede the law of the Son of Man? That's what you have to ask yourself. Or your own personal relationship with the Most High, the redeeming aspects and qualities that you have inalienable rights to come from the Creator himself, right? Whatever you call it. Does that covenant or contract supersede the one that man establishes on the land that he continuously amends, right? Through codification of because this is not law. They can't change what's already law. But they change the amendments, they codify it, and they have a legal system, which is not a real thing, but a fiction. So a fiction overrides and governs your temple, your church, right? This body of Christ. That's the conundrum. And you getting caught up in the fucking stupid shit.
And it made me really mad because when I was a kid growing up reading comic books and stuff, I could read really early. When I was like 5, I could read like a 10-year-old. When I was 10, I could read like a college student. And so I put down comic books. This is what happened to Kyrie Irving, and it made me really mad because when I was a kid growing up reading comic books and stuff, I could read really early. When I was like 5, I could read like a 10-year-old. When I was 10, I could read like a college student. And so I put down comic books when I was about 8 because my mom had all these history books. And some of them were picture history books, but I started reading those. And it's like a fact that Solomon married a bunch of black women. It's a fact that Ethiopia was Jewish. It's a fact that North Africa was Jewish. It's a fact that went on. And then Kyrie Irving puts out a video explaining that a bunch of North African blacks are intermarried and part Jewish, and Israel lets a bunch of blacks in because they can prove that their lineage, their names are Jewish names. So how is it anti-Semitic? And how does the ADL say it's anti-Semitic for black people who are related directly to King Solomon and King David, the line of Judah, which Haile Selassie was the leader of Ethiopia? That's where this whole movement comes from. To act like they don't know this, I'm not blaming Jews for this. I'm blaming the leftist ADL. To deny black Jews their heritage is a historic fraud. It's a damn historic fact. It's on Wikipedia. It's not even debated.
It's true, but it's not just the leftists, it's the right-wing ones too, because in Israel, Ye was just showing me a clip the other day where they are racist towards the Sudanese or Ethiopian black Jews that immigrate into Israel. They kick them out. There's quotas.
Well, Israel's even mean to the Hasidic Jews now. That's what I'm saying. They're waging war.
Right. So, and I agree with you. And what they've done to Kyrie Irving is just
disgusting. Hey, Zelenko, beautiful person, wonderful guy. He'll tell you, he goes, yeah, what runs Israel's evil, and so is your groups.
Ben Shapiro just mad that Kyrie won't sign his basketball. Back to you, Nick.
But what about that issue? I'm sure you know about Haile Selassie and Kyrie Irving. Your take on Kyrie?
That's my brother. And I love the fact that just like now, it felt like you were in this battle by yourself, but now you got two warriors alongside of you like gargoyles at the top of the buildings in New York, ready to fight for Christ. And when Kyrie put up that information, they always want to write me off and say, Ye is just so crazy, so crazy, so crazy. And then Kyrie was like, okay, here goes some information right here. Information is the unlock. There's 5 elements that the 1%, the elites, use to control the 99%, which are the masses. Those elements are water, food, shelter, medicine, and education. Which one of those 5 elements are the most important? Education. Because with the knowledge, you can go get water, you can go get food, you can get shelter, and you can get medication.
They don't want independence.
I agree. And Kyrie fought for something. And then also, for me, Kyrie, I love Kyrie. He did what his job was. They had the Hebrew Israelites in front of the game. And now the high schools, I always think about the high schools. I always think about the future, the grammar schools, the high schools. These are the people that are going to change our lives. So the high schools are asking questions. People are running around saying, oh, Ye's racist. What is the term racism was created and I think the construct of racism was created.
The communist Russians.
Yeah. And it's like the whole woke culture, the idea, the white man did this, the Jewish guy did this. Now I'm saying specifically the bankers. I think my misstep in the tweet was to pinpoint a people as opposed to pinpointing the devil and the fact that the devil used to have that. But more than that, it was my disobedience to God that forced me into the whale's stomach as I am right now. But it's only my obedience to God that's going to bring me out of the whale's stomach.
Well, let's elaborate. You're not walking back what you said. You are clarifying it, which is key. It's evil in the hearts of men and women that's a problem. And so you're not walking it back. You're clarifying. This is big.
Let's clarify. Satan, the angel, God's one of his favorite angels, one of the most powerful angels.
The most powerful.
Yeah, Satan. That's what I like. The most powerful angel, Satan. And he brought angels with him when he left heaven, right? How many angels did Satan bring with him?
33% of them. So he brought billions of angels with him.
So angels, Satan has 33% of God's warriors with him, working for Satan. But God runs the world. And it's Satan that gets inside of the Zionists and makes them do evil things. But these are stories because I'm a baby Christian, right? But I heard that, God loves me so much. He loves me.
whole clip right there. That whole clip. The whole clip. Pillar predictions. Full of pillar predictions. Right? But yeah, he's look, just to show, because, you know what I'm saying, I got some DMs and stuff, just to show the brothers, this Gemini's, right? Oh, no, it ain't this one. Just to show the brothers, there's Gemini's out there that I don't have no prejudice against y'all. What does this say? Oh, this ain't it either. I'm trying to get right in the eyes of these Geminis. See, I don't think that I'm out here picking on y'all. You feel me? I said some pretty cool things about Geminis. I just don't know where's my tweet at. But yeah, he is the prototypical Gemini right now. You know, he's embodying that conflict, that inherent conflict, you know, that we see a lot of Geminis go through. You know, they embody that. So he's full of truths and half-truths. You know, he's a walking contradiction. He's chaos consciousness, you know, manifested itself. You know what I'm saying? And he who is without sin, feel free to start casting them stones and see what comes back. You know? He is a consistent walking contradiction, you know, as a lot of us are. You know what I'm saying? But God lives in a whorehouse and the church simultaneously, nigga. So the contradictions did not start with us. How about that? How about that? How about that? How about you push this shit up off you and be like, ain't none of us gonna motherfucking get it right, because that ain't the point, nigga. It's chaos. Chaos. Right? It's chaos. And he's disrupting. But he's disrupting himself as well. He's disrupting his legacy. He's disrupting his bloodline. He's disrupting his relationships. He's disrupting his contracts. But he's also turning over the proverbial table in the temple of the money changers globally, cosmically. Right? So it is what it is, man. You don't deserve nothing perfect. You ain't gonna get nothing perfect. What you get is what you deserve right now. The shit looks crazy. It looks ratchet. It looks mutated. It looks unidentifiable. Why would the people deserve anything else? Y'all is out here running around talking about you on demon time. You have not even reeled that energy in yet. But you want something to be sanctified that comes to you? No, the shit gotta be meet the people where they at. The people is toxic. So your Christ gonna look crazy, nigga. Your Christ gonna look crazy. That your Christ gonna look like that, a messy Messiah. What, the people are pure? The majority of the population still have a mechanized military device in it that has changed their genetic code. Outside ain't even the same outside no more, because the magnetic resonance, the frequency that people are giving off is artificial. But you want something to be so real, so pure, so sanctified, so sanitized. You're not going to get that, right? We're not in the motherfucking hills of Mount Sinai, my nigga. We in the duat. We are in the Western world, which is the underworld, right? You're not going to get what you're looking for. Right? You're going to get what you got. Make the best out of it. Because you should be able to cook with this. There's enough going on that you should be able to extract some inspiration and get in your bag. Right? Figure out a way to figure out a way. You know? So they're gonna give you all of the melodramatic racial reminders, right? when they come out with this documentary next week, right? But it don't have, I'm not saying it has nothing to do with race, but it has everything to do with the bloodline. It has everything to do with the Holy Roman Empire. It has everything to do with these ancestors coming to the forefront and refusing to be hidden in the closet anymore, right? These Moors have to be, their names have to be spoken. Their stories have to be told. These lies have to be challenged. These Europeans cannot continue to go along like, oh, you know, you niggas is you know what I'm saying? The scourge of the motherfucking planet. How, Sway? How soon you forget? Fall of the Roman Empire, the Visigoths, and the Moors. We all came up together, my nigga. You the nigga that got pushed out the whip on the highway. You feel me? But you survived. It was your whip. You ate an edible and you was sitting in the back seat, right? Them niggas laced your blunt. You was feeling all woozy and shit. You was feeling all loopy. Niggas spiked your drink. They hit you with a whole bunch of cocktails. They went Dharma on you. And here you go in the back of your whip. Before the shit was even autonomous, you got a Visigoth in the front driving this shit. You know what I'm saying? You got a ghoulish one right next to him with the map out, reading it on the dashboard. You know what I'm saying? And you got a wicked witch in the back seat, you know, acting like she's feeding you herbs and the shit is spiked. And then when they got you, when you at, you know, your resistance is at its least, they kicked you out the whip. They opened the door and she put feet on you. Like in Christmas Story when Santa kicked the little nigga with the boot, right? They booted you out the whip. And they thought it was a wrap for you. But you drop rocked and you rolled into the ditch. And you survived that shit. And here you go. Trying to get your whip back. Your whip is one thing. There's a title and a deed to that whip, though. That's a whole nother thing. Now, would you just rather have the title and the deed and no whip? Or would you have the whip and no title and no deed? Right? How do you get all three of them, though? You feel me? How do you get all three of them, though? To stand on your shit to be like, yo, I need all of mine back. And you're going to pay me back money and gas, and I need a new engine in the transmission because y'all put like 1,000,000 miles on my shit. Right? Knowing that when you show up in my whip, that's when the gates start opening and shit. That's the secret entry. You show up in my whip, but it ain't me in there. It's you. People's like, yo, who is these niggas? Oh, nah, I'm showing up for son. You know what I'm saying? Came to pick the bag up. That's the game that they've been playing. Right? So how does this all finish itself out and come full circle? I told y'all the motifs. Hold on, let me get into my bag real quick. Fuck it. I told y'all the motifs continuously when dealing with Ye. What we're dealing with, who we looking at, right? All of this stems from, you know, St. Paul or St. Pablo tour, 2016, A Moment in the Matrix, when he went rogue at his concert and started talking about Hillary and them. Then he started saying that Jay and them was going to send a hitman for him because he was about to tell the secrets. He was speaking democratic secrets and saying the gig is up. I'm no longer going with the program. I'm breaking the program and I want to endorse another political party. That's a no-no in democratic-led Black America, right? That they have the gatekeepers installed in place who were partying at the same time with motherfucking Harvey Weinstein up in Hollywood getting ready for Hillary's Democratic run. The minute he get popped, they act like they don't know him. The minute Epstein get popped, they act like they don't know him. Right? The minute Sam Freed lose $1 billion, they act like they don't know him. But these are they bagmen. And they turn blind eyes to whatever these people are into. The same thing that's happening with freedmen right now in the Bahamas. They're turning a blind eye and pretending that they don't know what the fuck is going on. He just lost $16 billion and cooked it. He was cooking with grease over there. But nobody's prosecuting nobody. Nobody's lifting a finger. Nobody's saying nothing. They're like, oh, that's bad. You just got to hold that. Why? Because he made all of the necessary contributions and fundraisings to assure himself he already bought politicians for a time like this. Right? So it's not just, it's not righteousness that they're dealing with. It's a political system. Right? Why hasn't Sam Bankman-Fried been arrested yet? Why? Because he fried, the man who fried the bank's name is Sam. The man who fried the bank's name is Sam. Nephew. Uncle nephew. Uncle Sam. Y'all don't get it. The shit, is it going over your head? It happened a week right before we lost Uncle Nephew. Yeah. All right. I gotta show you the visuals. I gotta break dance and shit. I gotta put on the Adidas and do the break dance for y'all to catch it, huh? But at the same time, you know, like I said, the hypocrisy of these people, they up in the White House partying right now. They was partying last night while all of this nonsense was going on. You feel me? Joe Biden and them was hosting a state dinner for France. And all of the politicians, the Republicans and all of them had to be up in there partying with Hunter Biden while he's under, you know, investigation. You feel me? It's a family affair. They was toasting last night. Right? And these are the people who are openly supporting the Ukrainian government, which is openly being aided and assisted by neo-Nazis. Okay? So this government loves Nazis because they're sending them billions of dollars to this day. The neo-Nazis. Right? Neo-Nazis are receiving billions and billions and billions of dollars in aid today. You feel me? Look at your boy. Hold on. Where he at? Not him. Right? That dude, I don't know. I ain't gonna put him on blast. He was singing for them folks, but, you know, he gotta get to the bag. He's playing the game. They up in the house with the bow ties on, right? They made it to the house. They made it to the big house. They let them in the big house and put the bow ties on them. I find that funny. That was the attire of the big house, though. It was the bow tie. Look at your boy John Legend. With the other baby eater, huh? Look at the baby eater. So all of this comes out of the Podesta files, right? When they busted Hillary's chief of staff, John Podesta, emails, and they found out they was all into Satanism and spirit cooking. This happened. The same way that they was able to prove that the Hunter Biden laptop was real and all of that footage was real, it's the same way that they proved that the Podesta emails coming out of the laptop by Anthony Weiner was real. They did the investigation on that. So why is nobody talking about that? Because this ties all of them together with the whole DC shit. I can't even say the name. It's Pizzagate and the other Comet Pizza, right? I don't even know if I can say that. Amit Pizza. Y'all just seem to forget about that. Y'all just glossing this over, putting the pieces together. You would think that you cared enough about your babies to deep dive like y'all did for, what's her name? Shaquisha, what's her name? Shanquella. No disrespect, but the internet becomes internet sleuths with things that they have personal interest for that move the nigger net. But these is your children, and they're showing you where the breadcrumbs is at that lead to top politicians and political titans and titans in business is all into this shit. is all into this shit. And this shit gets ugly, right? But there's such a thing that exists called the dark web. So while the dark web exists and it represents 90% of the internet, while the internet that we're on right now is just 10%, the visible spectrum. And we think that things is underneath the floor, the floor bedding, nigga. Yeah. The shit that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden got on his laptop would get laughed at compared to the real shit that's going on in real life, in reality, right now. Where you could go in there and see melanated women who have been kidnapped, being tortured, and you know, they got snuff films, they killing them, they eating them. All kind of shit. Right? I can give you an onion router, you could get busy if you got the stomach for it. And my niggas know, y'all know about the dark web. You know what's going on underneath the stairs. And they got these people once again playing the game, the facade of reality. And then that shit is so curated and censored, right? But if y'all knew the truth, you would throw up in your mouth about what these people is into. And they got footage and they got videos and all kind of shit, and the people still in denial. Right? But we supposed to be putting our neck on the line and sacrificing to convince people of what again? Right? Convince the people of what? And everything that you need to know is being shown to you when you're still in denial? Hunter Biden mingles with guests at Thursday's state dinner after skipping the arrivals where he be photographed and curated by journalists. Right? But he's still up in there schmoozing. Look at Anta Wintour down there, right? The Devil Wears Prada. Okay? The Devil Wears Prada. What you think she into? And she was hanging out directly with Abramovich and them, the lady responsible for the spirit cooking. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Feel me? Like, what are we talking about? This is the company that they keep. This is what they into. All right? Once again, but France knows the truth. These countries that have been, or France has been sitting on African spiritual systems for forever, extracting information, and they're the freaky French, so they'll commingle with you. They'll get up in your gene pool to learn secrets. They went up in Mali and cracked the code with the Dogon. They sat there for 20 years until they got in. Just so they could come back and write the Pale Fox. Right? So all of this comes full circle and it lands right back here. The coalescing and the combination of what I considered and been called the pillar prophecy. You got Christ and you got Pablo in one figure called Chris Paul. Right? Fuck who he represents as an individual or person or how you feel about him as a basketball player. It is the name as it coincides with what Ye is going through and what he represents and the energy that he's channeling. He can't get away from Pablo if he tried. I feel like Pablo. I feel like Pablo. Yeah, John Paul II on the motherfucking cover of the White Lives Matter. He named his goddamn album The Life of Pablo. His whole shit popped off at the St. Pablo tour, right? He got Pope Pablo activated. So you see how this shit is weirdly quantum entangled, right? And if y'all are, because some of y'all might be not knowledgeable of why I put this man's picture on the screen. Last night, Ye said that he caught Kim with Chris Paul. She was in good hands with Allstate. You know what I'm saying? But this nigga came with the State Farm shit. He gave a different level. He wanted to assure a different part of her body or something. I don't know. She likes ballers. Mm-hmm. This bitch. This bitch right here. This Christian woman right here. This fine Christian specimen right here. This one right here got the whole world in a flux. This one right here. Her box. Her head. Her womb. Her brain. Right? Got this nigga more cuckoo than normal for Cocoa Pops. And he got the whole consciousness of the world held hostage because of some shit that he's going through. This bitch. Who's telling you where her allegiance is at, where she won't denounce a brand, right, over her children. She's like, I got to think about it. You know what I'm saying? I got to think about it. I'm not jumping to no rash decisions. After all, who else am I going to worship with? Like, y'all niggas just don't get it. Y'all down there, right, at the base of the mountain or the base of the hill, but we up here in the hills of Hollywood, giving it all up to Lucifer, nigga. And that's who we owe our allegiance to. You want us to denounce Lucifer because of what? Look, the U.S. should denounce Columbus if they feel a certain way about Ye saying that he loves Hitler or likes him. Then the U.S. should denounce Columbus, right? Because what do we? We have a preference for genocidal maniacs or tyrants and things of that nature. So why the U.S. don't denounce Columbus? Why the U.S. don't denounce Andrew Jackson? Right? The U.S. loves Hitler. Let's be clear. Okay? And if they didn't, they would destroy and eradicate neo-Nazis. There was a self-professed Klansman called Senator Byrd who was responsible for making the decision of dropping the nuclear armory on Japan. It wasn't even a presidential decision. Nobody even knew. I think the nigga might have signed the shit himself. And he did it in the name of the Klan. So you can't tell me that domestic terrorism has not spread itself like a fucking germ around this world and caused mayhem and catastrophe. Right? How you going to sit up there and speak about somebody who has been propagated and trained in this country to love despots, tyrants, and anti-heroes, and that shit is all American? Albert Pike is who I was speaking about earlier. Yes, thank you. Right? Albert Pike was the sovereign grand leader, the 33rd and the 3rd grand leader of the Masons, the author of Morals and Dogma, and also the Confederate general. So the U.S. should denounce all Confederate generals and the Confederacy, point blank period, because they were attempting to wipe out and genetically annihilate a population in this country and also overthrow this government, so they're enemies of the state. Why do they still have statues? Why are they still allowed to have gatherings? They should be considered seditionists. They tried it. Right? Why have they not been eradicated? They represent a clear and present threat. And we can show where the branch of that tree has, branched into neo-Nazism and domestic terrorists, radical organizations that actually have body counts in this country and blood on the floor. The last one being the shooting that took place in Pittsburgh at the synagogue. I believe it was I knew the shooter was 44 years old. Tree of Life Synagogue. Right? Maybe he caught 11 bodies or something. Yeah, Albert Pike is memorialized in D.C. He was the head Confederate general. Robert Lee is etched on the face of Stone Mountain. So what are we talking about here? Right? How are they not more reprehensible than Hitler in this country? So real quick, I just want to qualify some teaching moments and I'm going to let you guys go back to your day. You took a moment out and I appreciate that. And he was speaking about education being, because he He gave y'all the hybrid of the Facts Initiative when he said these are the 5 factors that the elite use to hold us back: food, clothing, and shelter. And then he said education was the highest degree, right? Because with education, you can figure out how to supply yourself with food, clothing, and shelter and be self-autonomous and actually choose freedom over slavery. But as long as somebody else is supplying food, clothing, and shelter and responsible for your education and your edification, you're a slave, nigga. For real. For real. So this is an excerpt from the Book of Knowledge, right? Which is Dog Star Hip Hop 3 from A.A. Rashid. Okay? Knowledge is one of the most ubiquitous terms in the biblical Hebrew text. Our brother's rabbi, okay, and the top Kabbalists in our book. So, this information qualifies itself. Knowledge in biblical Hebrew is the word daf, right? So let's take a visual of this, right? We're going to take a real quick class, all right, then I'm going to go. I don't hear that Cash App going off either, but I guess it's early. I don't know. But let's take a visual of what the tree of life looks like, okay? And again, for those that are standing on their proclamation of being the black Jews or the Hebrews, get into your Kabbalah, because this is where it's all going down at. You know that these people are utilizing sorcery against you, so it ain't just enough to know the Hebrew, how to read it or write it. Do you know the gematria? Do you know Kabbalah? Are you understanding about how this is utilized for sorcery or not? Do you get it? Well, anyway, that third pillar, that middle pillar, right, is called Doth, right? The number of Doth is 474. But the middle pillar right here, this is Doth. This is the invisible pillar. This is what they say that you're supposed to be centering yourself or playing the midpoint, or this is the darkness. This is, the subconscious. This is the part that they tell you to be afraid of, right? But it also represents knowledge. This is the tree of knowledge. It's a tree of life. This is called the Kabbalistic tree of life. The middle pillar is called what's considered, what they tell you in the biblical texts about Eve and all of that shit. They give you the surface. The surface is like, if you understand programming, that's the GUI, right? That's the graphic user interface. Whereas the esoteric information is the coding behind it, okay, that operates as the coding that makes the GUI flash. So you just enter the visual component. This is the actual information. So the tree of knowledge she said was not to eat from is the middle path, the middle pillar, right? Doth, okay? This term Doth is a very important term in that it represents an ancient indication that the authors of the biblical Hebrew text were aware of African divination systems of manifesting truth relevant to reality via ritual sorcery. Knowledge is a fact concerning terrestrial reality that was brought about by ritual sorcery from a celestial source. Only through ritual sorcery can one receive the truth concerning future events. I assert that the biblical Hebrew term Doth is indicative of a divinatory finding. The word Doth derives or is related to the biblical Hebrew use of the word Yadawu, meaning to know. Yeda means to have, known, know, prove, or certify, teach, and communicate, or inform, or cause to be known. We find it used in Psalms 73:11. And they say, how doth Goth know? And it is their knowledge in the Most High. There exist several instances in the English translation of the biblical Hebrew text that prohibits sorcery or divinatory practices. We must understand that if we ask a human to perform a ritual to a force of the universe and call it God, we are actively performing sorcery. I think I'm going to read that again. Okay? There exist several instances in the English translation of the biblical Hebrew text that prohibit sorcery or divinatory practices. But we must understand that if we ask a human to perform a ritual to a force of the universe and call it God, we are actively performing sorcery. Asking through prayer for assistance is an act of sorcery, and the colonizer has removed the operational principles of ritual and has subsequently replaced them all with pseudo acts of worship, aligned to two artificial vehicles of deity. One deity is calculated as 26 and the other is 86 or 646. So those are the two numbers associated with Yahweh. Okay? The major gods of Judaism are numbers and planetary bodies. I will repeat that. The major gods of Judaism are numbers and planetary bodies. These symbols are used to obtain divinatory findings as acts of worship. So why then does Judaism and its offspring, Christianity and Islam, prohibit the use of sorcery? They do so for no other reason but to hide all practices of African spiritual technology. Okay? African spiritual technology. We find in Isaiah 44:25. Who frustrates the signs of liars and makes fools of diviners? Who turns wise men back and makes their knowledge foolish? Then we see Micah 5:12. And I will cut off sorceries from your hand, and you shall have no more tellers of fortunes. In Leviticus 26:20, verse 20, or chapter 20, verse 6, if a person turns to mediums and necromancers, whoring after them, I will set my face against that person and will cut him off from amongst his people. Further, in Leviticus 20:27, a man or a woman who is a medium or a necromancer shall surely be put to death. They shall be stoned with stones, their blood shall be upon them. The reason we are able to find several instances prohibiting sorcery in all three of the major religious doctrines, as well as within the corpus of literature encompassing the religious opinions of their priestly scholars, derives from these religions being used as colonizing apparatuses. Colonizing apparatuses, all three, have been utilized as colonizing apparatuses, right? So you can tie your hands from your traditional magic systems and allow somebody to smack you in the face and you turn the cheek. And you don't got your hands available to defend yourself or to counteract. Okay? An apparatus from which the colonizer manipulates an older religious narrative by translating it into his commercial language. His commercial language, right? He propositions it for commerce. He takes your script, he takes your old narrative, he repurposes it, he puts you into game, and he makes sure he's the one who will gain benefit from you being in fear of yourself. The biblical Hebrew translation in English is the colonizer's tool to redirect a human impulse to find God in the stars and through a ritual into emotionally making them depend on literacy fiction. Humanity worships a fictional narrative created through several translations. This artificial deity is alive, however, and is an active principle in the lives of many. The composers of the biblical Hebrew English translation did not allow truth to spoil the great story that the Bible has become. Okay? So that's all we dealing with. The English translation is very telling concerning the nature of humans. The English translation is an X-rated action adventure filled with every imaginable act of debauchery you can think of, mostly sanctioned by God. Torture, burning children and ritual offerings, removing both eyes of kings, etc. You name it, is there. The true religion of this planet is reciprocity. This planet is made to be a receptive apparatus for stellar transmissions, okay? For stellar transmissions, all right? For stellar transmissions, right? We make observations of stellar bodies so we can align ourselves perfectly to receive stellar transmissions and downloads, okay? So we're not stuck in no box and can't nobody had to call casualty to get in front of us and attempt to share a fucking narrative about who they think that they are versus who we not. We not doing that. You feel me? Well, those of us who know, we not doing that. We not doing it. Right? You can't push back on the truth. Nigga, you can't have it your way. No. Truth is the truth is the truth is the truth. You're not going to come in here and rewrite that shit and repurpose it so it can benefit you. Right? Medieval manuscripts discovered in Romania could rewrite the European history. They're continuously backtracking their story. They don't even know themselves. How the fuck they gonna tell you who and what you are? They don't even have their own story down pat. Medieval manuscripts, yo. Google and find out when it's medieval times again. Don't let Game of Thrones fool you. It wasn't that long ago. We are not them. We don't have a medieval history, my nigga. We're fucking antiquated. We're not even from this planet. And you gonna let somebody tell you different about who and what you are? A pornography addiction, like any serious sin, is an opening to the demonic. Messenger Rosati told CNN in an email, no, raping fucking babies is an opening to the demonic, nigga. Right? Suppressing your sexuality is an opening to the demonic. And you not doing semen retention. Them niggas is not moving their sexual energy across their body with the microcosmic orbit. They ain't on a Montauk Chia. Right? They not even masturbating and holding semen retention and making the shit rotate through motherfucking microcosmic orbit. And then doing the breathing and channeling and doing fire breaths. They not doing that. They not doing that. Israeli scientists derive male and female cells from the same, they doing all kind of motherfucking shit in their laboratory that's against their faith, playing God. Why they got you woed and finessed about who and what you are. A Hadashah team created male and female stem cells with the same genetic code from the same person. Okay? That only differs in sex. These people is doing the most. But I'm telling you what's coming next. They're about to outlaw, right? Let's give it. It's going to be another pillar prediction. Once Netanyahu and them get a say, which is going to be in a few days, right? Because we are in Sagittarius, so we're going to hear them making proclamations and laying down law, right? This is all the biblical season, so we're going to be going through the narrative between Sagittarius and Capricorn, right? They're gonna attempt to bring a whole new law into existence, and they're gonna outlaw anti-Semitism. They're gonna say it's a global threat now. All you need is you just one incident away, and then they're gonna give Mossad the motherfucking green light to eradicate threats that they feel are arising globally, and they're gonna blame you know who, right? They're going to blame you know who. This is well scripted, but it's a bad script at the same time. See this last page. Others had great Eastern European ancestry, consistent with historical evidence that a number of people living in Erfurt, that's Germany, between 1350 and 1400 had surnames indicating origins in the East, as well as Slavic given names. The two groups, those with more Middle Eastern or more Slavic origins, also had distinct levels of oxygen isotopes in their teeth, indicating they used different water sources in childhood, and thus, at least one of the groups must have included migrants. Right? So this is how they're cooking their stories up. Once again, all of this evidence that they have utilized to trace their origin stories is from a tooth. Not bones, not skeletal structures, right? Not hair, not locks of hair, not all of the stuff when they got to tear up melanated bodies that they say in the spirit of science for us to get to the bottom of the matter, right? But they would only allow themselves to extract the tooth out of well-preserved bodies that they was able to find up in a sealed cemetery, right? But these people are telling you that they're the chosen people on the planet. Okay? They're the chosen people on the planet. But their genetics says what? Our first question was, do medieval Erfurt Jews and modern Ashkenazi Jews belong to the same genetic population on average? Yes. There has been almost no incorporation of genes from non-Jewish European populations over the last 600 years. But the biggest surprise was that Erfurt Jews were noticeably more diverse than modern Ashkenazi Jews. So they have not experienced no biodiversity at all, right? There has been no interruption to their genetic pool or their genetic bloodline for over 600 years. It's been intact. So who they're saying these people are, you feel me? For the most part, is who these people are. And who they're saying they are German Jews. Right? Not the Coptics. Not the Canaanites. Not the Ethiopians. Not the Cushites. Not the Berbers. Not the Hittites. Not any of these people. They're German Jews. And there's no biblical narrative or historical evidence that this is where these stories took place. Or these are who these people are. These people just put themselves in a quagmire by showing that they never left their region. And the only way that they came into contact with this information is Middle Eastern people, quote unquote, came and brought it to them. And anytime that they say Middle Eastern, they're talking about North Africans. And when they talk about North Africans, they're talking about Moors. And the evidence of which we can clearly go and show proof was Moors in this region. In order to qualify the question, that would be the next. You would follow up one question with another. You'd be like, damn, well, is there any historical records of Moors being in that region? Yeah. Right? Yeah. 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 There's a whole lot of motherfucking evidence suggesting as such. Right? It's an insurmountable amount of evidence. Right? And it could be found through what's called the Holy Roman Empire, which was largely a Germanic empire, right? It was in Bavaria. It was up in Rome. In Germany. Right? Shout out to the brothers who went up there and did the monumental lecture and demonstrated. Okay? Is there a difference between the Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Empire? The Holy Roman Empire was essentially a Germanic kingdom that had conquered previously imperial lands in what is now France and Italy and evolved into a confederation or squabbling German kingdoms and duchies that slowly coalesced into ever larger kingdoms such as Hanover, the Palatinate, Prussia, Austria, and so on until it was dismantled in August 1806 by Napoleon. You feel me? But you have to do your research. There are plenty melanated Holy Roman emperors throughout history. Okay? There's plenty Roman emperors that are melanated, and there's plenty Holy Roman emperors, and those are two different distinctive time class. Shout out to my brother Adika Butler. He just put this out about the Black Vikings. Feel me? He just put this out about the Black Vikings. You know, so they're all through that region. They're all through that time period, right? Here goes the kingdom of the Moors and the Romans, right? They shared much history together. The whole Punic Wars was about the intermingling of the Moors and the Romans. This is the Roman Empire. This is not even a Holy Roman Empire. This is when you're talking about Hannibal and them, and Scipius Africanus and all of that shit. Right? That's all the way back then. That's the Roman Empire, not even a Holy Roman Empire. Feel me? Shit, yeah. They not playing in Indonesia. You going to jail if you got sex out there and you're not married. They say even tourists. Yeah. You ain't coming out there to bust nothing. Ain't coming out there to bust nothing. 4 Roman emperors born in Africa. Right? Do the knowledge, do the research. This shit gets deep. It's not what you think it is. Trust me when I tell you. Right? Some historians regarding the crowning of Charlemagne in 800 as the beginning, but his empire is now generally referred to as the Frankish. Right? So that's talking about Charlemagne and how Charlemagne the Great and then was instrumental as well with I think defeating the Moors. That was his claim to fame. There's a particular battle where he decimated the Moors. So again, just evidence that they was in close proximity to these people at any and all times during those times. These are the medieval times that they're talking about. And this is when these people can only trace their beginnings to. Like, we was already on this bitch for however many long. We was already ancient by that time. So what are they talking about, B? Right? Look, Patagonia's first new synagogue in decades reveals the growing Argentinian Jewish community. So they're talking about Argentina, right? South America. And they're speaking about how now this is a destination all right, brother. Okay, so because we're in here teaching and we've been running through things, right? What are you asking, Ildrum? What's the question specifically? Yeah. So what do you want to know specifically? Give me a direct question so I can give you a direct answer as it pertains to the conversation, because a lot has been discussed and you just may have pulled up. So let's be respectful of the class and the room and the energy in it. Ask the question and I will qualify it with an answer and we can push through it, because there's a lot being touched on. I'm throwing a lot at the wall, right? You may have missed something and heard something that I said out of context. So if you qualify it with a question, I will be sure to give you a desired answer, or, an answer nonetheless. Yeah, so I asked you a legal dream. What's the question? right? Because now that you have been engaged and we're asking you, what's the question? Then you don't have a response. So now you interrupting the class. Feel me? So I'm going to give you another chance. And then you know what happens next. Where am I going with this knowledge? I am preferencing a conversation with my people so they can have knowledge of the back history, right? There's an article that just came out on Wednesday that spoke about the origins of Ashkenazi Jews. So we need to speak about what the evidence is showing us about these people who said that they are Proto-Hebraic, the children of the Most High, the chosen, and the original Jews, because these are the same people who are telling you or our people who they're not. So we're going through history lessons. We're also qualifying to explain to people that there was a heavy African presence in Europe forever and a day, right? We're also giving the ancient history of what the swastika represents and how if you're banning someone from showing a religious symbol, a spiritual religious symbol that dates back to 16,000 years at least, and that symbol means light, you feel me? Then, you know, where are we going to stop at? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to banning things and throwing things into the fire without having a full understanding of what they mean. The hex alpha, or what they call a Star of David, represents upper and lower, right? As above, so below, micro, macro. It is the realm within itself. It's a 6-pointed star. It represents matter, it represents this dimension, which is a carbon-based one. The operative principles of this dimension is the number 6 as the cube. So when you put the 4 and the 6 together and you get 10, right? And 10 is the number of God or Dios himself, you know, then we're seeing these you know, the coalescing of mathematical principles expressed by way of spirituality. But when you delete that and push people off the page because you say that that's hate speech, I'm like, I mean, where are we getting at? Because Son is trolling. We know that Ye is trolling. But the things that he's caught the axe for, if they're setting precedence in law by saying, you know, if you're teaching the AI to now go and troll the internet and do the same thing, these particular dog whistles that we're seeing, that we have to challenge that because it's no good. And it's going to push back on spirituality. We're going to get caught in the dragnet at the end of the day of this nigga playing stupid games on the internet. So Patagonia, Argentina's famously beautiful southern region, has been a haven for backpackers, vacationers from Buenos Aires in the 20th century, as well as Nazi war criminals, right? So again, all of this story, all of this information is coming out at the same time. That has changed in the last year as a group of Jews living in San Martin de los Andes have inaugurated the first ever synagogue in their city. So Buenos Aires, or more so Argentina, is where the CIA, or the U.S. should we say, sent Nazis after World War II in what is considered or called Operation Paperclip, of which you can Google it and you can go to the CIA motherfucking website and it's on there, because this is not a conspiracy, nigga. It's what they did. They extrapolated Nazi war criminals and scientists and they sent them to Patagonia, or they said that they escaped and went there, and they took the rest of them to the U.S. And they started with an agency called NASA, of which the crowning achievement of NASA, just last week, they was able to send the Artemis space system up there. Artemis during the same time as Mars retrograde, mind you, to see the black side or the dark side of the moon. And the shit came back looking like Stone Mountain, and ain't nobody say nothing. That was one hell of a story. Right? And we'll revisit that at another time. But yeah, so Nazism is now intergalactic because their initial imperative was to be intergalactic because they were an occult esoteric organization tapping into something called the Black Sun, which dealt with interstellar travel and dealt with spaceships and shit like that. So they just continue all of this research and all of this, you know what I'm saying, pursuits that they were initially attempting, you know, to get into, they just continued it over here. And hence, this is where we're at. So the U.S. loves Hitler. You feel me? So, again, here is where the Nazi war criminals, I ain't write this, nigga. This is written in the Times of Israel. They just wrote this. This shit came out today. Are you serious? They're openly telling you, yo, they got war criminals. Nazi war criminals went to Patagonia, to Chile. They got a whole movie on it called Boys of Brazil. Right? Every fucking body knows this but niggas, apparently. But they could tell you whatever. And you just go with it. Because you don't know who you are. And that's obvious to everyone else that's looking at this point. And it's sad. And they feel pity for you. Right? And they're going to start assigning you roles. They just gave you what the movie is called today. That came, Emancipation, go emancipate yourself from slavery. Right? By engaging in some more mental slavery. Visual this time. The shit is in, you know, it's on the widescreen. And Anthony Fuqua is directing it. So, woo, you about to get some sauce. You about to get some sauce, my niggas. I ain't gonna lie. The shit looked like Revenant meets Glory meets some other shit. He cooked it. The shit look crazy. I'm about to go do some research. Yeah, so the whole shit, you know, Patagonia, Chile, and Argentina, you know, again, this article just came out, you know, from the Times of Israel. I'm not making this shit up. I ain't fishing. Popped up on my timeline. You know what I'm saying? Popped up on my timeline. You know? So everybody, you know, but again, these are the biggest, baddest people, and they right there in South America. The Confederates moved to South America after the Civil War. They went to Brazil. Feel me? The Nazis went to Patagonia. You know, what will happen if them niggas hook up? Yeah, they call it neo-Nazis here in this country today. Like, how are these points, you know, going over people's heads? Right? But look what they say about their people. The reason behind the potential need for increased sensitivity over ancient DNA, he said, is that results just may contradict long-held traditions and communal perceptions, right? If we run the results and the test of this shit, it's going to change our whole story. So we got to make sure that we go about and do it right and correct and show dignity to our ancestors, because it's going to upend who we thought that we were. That's what they're saying. People can get hurt emotionally. In that sense, it's important to consult with the communities and do the study ethically. They don't have the same respect for Palestinians. They didn't have the same respect for our ancestors at the African burial ground where they built the federal buildings at downtown Manhattan. They didn't have the same respect for your ancestors in Kemet. Right? They ain't had the same respect for the ancestors who they made ancestors everywhere that they went with the goddamn doctrine of discovery. On the other hand, one can argue that the story of those deceased people belong to the entire humanity and that no one specific community owns the remains from a certain place, he said, acknowledging that work with ancient communities presents researchers with conflicting moral values. So they like, oh, we operate either we're saying we're going to hold tradition and be responsible because these are somebody's ancestors, and unearthing their ancestors can change everything that these people think about themselves. So at least we owe it to ourselves to be respectful enough to work with these communities. Or they said, shit, we can also operate out of the capacity that none of you niggas own this shit. This shit belongs to humanity. And we're going to take this and we're going to do whatever we want because, you know, it's information that we need to know. And we're going to step over you and your traditions and your respect level. And we're going to do what the fuck we want to do. Right? That's also how they're giving it up. And you can see them operating on that principle more so with our people than anybody else on this planet. Moving forward, it will be interesting to see what the opinion is of the rabbis, the scholars, said Carmi. Maybe this study will lead to more openness, but maybe it will backfire and we'll be told it is something we shouldn't do. So if they start digging up bones and the stories start contradiction and pushing timelines either backwards or forwards too long where they can't force fit themselves into the historical canon of humanity, especially as it applies to whatever religion they're attempting to parallel park to and usurp at the moment, then the rabbis is like, nah, we're gonna put that research on the back burner. You know what I'm saying? It's causing too much controversy. You feel me? That's how they do. You know what I'm saying? That's how they do. And the people are left to do what? With no knowledge, with no education, you gonna push back with what? What you gonna push back with? Your emotions? They don't give a fuck about that. They keep showing you. You know what I'm saying? Not only do they not care about your emotions, they have mastered manipulating your emotions. So they're like, those are not even your emotions. You know what I'm saying? We don't gotta respect that shit. They like, it's not even yours to call your own. And then they ran this today, you know. InfoWars, Alex Jones files for personal bankruptcy. You know what I'm saying? They always got to play the media and the finance game together. He don't even understand. But, I mean, you know, the news is the news. And he did file for bankruptcy today, and it's headline news. And he was just in the news yesterday. So I guess it coincides, you know, timely. In a timely fashion. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna close this up. You know what I'm saying? I found this piece that I wrote. This was in my Facebook reminder. I wrote this in 2008. This was in my original book called The Blue Pill. That was the book that, you know, became my name because the book was so heralded, you know, at the time when I had wrote it, but I've never published it. It's an underground book that, you know, only the streets know about. But I too love Jewish people. I as well love Jewish people. So my growing up in Brooklyn, in the Jewish enclave of Brooklyn, which people have erroneously called New York, right? In that Jewish enclave of Brooklyn, Ralph Lauren was my friend. His name was Ralph Lipskit. He's from the Bronx. Couldn't get more Jewish than Lipskit. So, the love that we showed for Ralph Lauren Polo shows that we're far from anti-Semitic. Okay? I'm going to show you how much this shit had an impression on us. I wrote a little piece. I said it wasn't nothing African about my passionate love affair for all things Ralph Lauren. It had me touring the eastern seaboard looking for ways to get off, to G off. Had me touring the eastern seaboard looking for stores to G off. Yeah. Up the back, down the leg, or we would steam off. Each score, we would stack ITs, even trade exclusive with our crimies. We came boosting into the 90s. Polo got replaced with Hilfiger. Hold on, I'm going to give you these bars. Polo got replaced with Hill figure, and they was paying real figures, 2 or 3 stacks a watch, while grimy niggas hugged the block with G-packs of rocks for guap. Ducking po-po. We started scouring spots. Let's see if I can do this. Ducking po-po, we started scouring spots like the Diamond Districts, looking for signs of slipping, but steady trying to avoid an island visit, right? Nobody wanted to go to Rikers. Nobody wanted to go to Rikers. Trust me. You know, want to go to Rikers Island. You could pop the glass with a penny, right? The glass cases that they had the Rolexes and stuff in, right? We learned how to pop cases, and you could get the Rolex out the case. You finesse the lady and spin her, pop the case, you pop a glass with a penny, and you go digging for the Rolex and you're out of there. Trill niggas wanted Rolls. All right, let me go back. Trill niggas wanted Rolls, and they was paying real figures, 2 or 3 stacks a watch, while grimy niggas hugged the block with G-packs of rocks for guap. Ducking po-po, we started scouring spots like the Diamond District. Looking for signs of slipping, but steadily trying to avoid an island visit, right? Once again, nobody wanted to go to Rikers Island, right? Or you could jimmy the lock with any pair of keys. Sometimes the keys even work, but that was a rarity. We was on that cake like Sarah Lee. So we would clean the case out, right? The case with the Rolexes. So we would clean the case out, break out and split the diamonds with our men's. The booty was even enough to buy Little and Ryan a Benz. The big body, caught slipping, you get bodied. The wolves was on the creep for bleeding sheep. So these two youngsters, they was like 15 at the time. Their name was Little and Ryan. They was from Crown Heights. They was some of the illest boosters ever in Brooklyn. They was the first ones to pop up with the 600 Ben SEL. In our social circle and our dynamics, not the niggas, because the niggas selling dope was my dude Scar, who had the shootout with Puffy and them and Shine in the Club New York. But he ain't had a 600 SCL. I think he had like a 500. But Little and Ryan, niggas popped up with the SEL off of Rolexes. Serious. They was 15. Caught slipping, you get bodied. The wolves was on the creep for bleeding sheep. The sharks was on the prowl for bleeding meat. Because the general belief was thieves was weak, at least compared to thieves who eat with heat. So stick-up kids started to lay traps for cats on their way back from jewelry stings. It wasn't like back in the days when you would steal 3 jeans and get deaded or headed. You get deaded, headed to FA. That's Franklin Ave. That's where my baby from. Shout out to Franklin Ave. You'll get deaded, headed to FA. Nah, niggas was getting juked in the brook, stripped naked, or wetted with the Max, oops, or the SKs. Yeah, that's what was happening, just for fucking fashion. All of this over a Jew. Yeah, so it seems niggas would kill for the bling. Intratex and baby Glocks became synonymous with shady blocks. Preschool was over. Niggas was trying to breeze through in Rovers. Yeah. Baby drops, 3 1/4. I got a 3 1/4. My baby got a baby drop now. We got a 3 1/4. Right? And she from Franklin. 500 SELs with somebody's daughter riding shotgun. Yeah, nigga. Riding shotgun. You feel me? Huh. Lex Coupes, Beamer, or Benz, because you ain't a Willie unless you got one, my friends. So, see, that was copyright 2008. And I had to bring this back out like 10 years ago because niggas started talking about polo again. Like they was in the motherfucking streets putting their life on the line to get this good Jewish, fashion going. Yeah, nigga. You wasn't there. Cut it out. Y'all living in the afterthought of what polo represented. That Polo was serious. One day I'm gonna write a book about it, just to explain how this pinnacle role of fashion led to us even today being branded and not being able to get from underneath brands. It really solidified itself in the late 80s and the 90s when we became so infatuated with Polo Ralph Lauren that the children started killing for it in the streets, and it became the barometer or the marker of cool. Like, you couldn't sit at this table. It was so much part of culture that it dominated, how we actually even saw each other. You know what I'm saying? But I also reverse engineered it to allow my Haitian friends to be accepted into social circles, and because they had the Hearts Alliance in the spirit of Haitian warriors, right? They was able to break all that bullshit in half, where at one point in our reality, in our community, in our existence, in our culture, Haitians were like outlawed. They couldn't even come outside. They was getting persecuted, beat up, assaulted, shitted on, literally, robbed every chance they got. They were just pushed out. And my homies was able to push back against that. I mean, they was murderers and killers and, but it was, some things is necessary. Sometimes you just gotta, a war is a war is a war. And there's nothing as a deterrent like blood. There's no deterrent like blood. That shit'll make some motherfuckers slow up real quick and double think. And then nothing else really works with niggas, unfortunately. So they had to ride for their respect, and you know what I'm saying, and push the bullshit up off of them. But as a result, they opened the gates and the floodgates, and Haitians no longer have to worry about that. So sometimes sacrifices have to be made, especially when you up against some ugly shit, right? So what are y'all willing to sacrifice to go up against this ugly shit? I had to repost this with the Southern Rash for Polo fanaticism taking place. Again, nothing comes from nothing. Let us understand that this is an outgrowth of an earlier street culture popularized in Brooklyn circa late 80s, early 90s. I don't like this fashion in which the story has been told, so I gotta tell it, because most certainly I was there in the mix. This in no way is meant to glamorize our earlier endeavors, but if you don't tell your story the right way, it will never be told. So that's why I wrote that poem and told that story. And it's not meant to glamorize retail reparations or boosting or any of that stuff, but it was very much a part of my consciousness. You know what I'm saying? It's very much a part of my consciousness. So I have to tell the story. You feel me? And again, that was a Jewish designer who embraced the idea of Americana, and he sold us Westernism the same way that his brethren from Eastern Europe went to Hollywood as vagabonds, and they initially instituted what was called the Nickelodeon, right? Selling movies for 5 cents. And then they was able to build up Hollywood selling what they considered to be the American dream or Americana. They packaged it, they polished it, and they sold it to the rest of us. And it was understood to be fictional, right? There was no such thing. It came out of their imagination of what they perceived or understood Americana, Western life to be like. And they packaged it and sold it to the world, and the world bought it wholesale. And this became the illusion of the American dream. And so many people have come here and responded to that signal that they put out. You feel me? But at the same time, they was also funding vaudeville and putting blackface on, Al Jolson and the rest of them, and telling you that you was monkeys and you were less than, and the nerve of them and the shame on them, because they know that they just came from motherfucking Portugal, Spain, Germany, France, and Europe, being taught and benefiting from the light that the Moors came and shined in the dark ages. How dare they? Blasphemy. So they obviously was in on it, coming over here, dealing with the people who have been denuded of their culture, stripped of their memory, and they piled on with cinema, right? Moving pictures, putting people in a spell, funding Birth of a Nation. How could the Jews allow the Klan to ride on us? And they supposed to be enemies of them. Something ain't mathing. The math ain't mathing. Feel me? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, if that's how they operating then. Because how come they coexist and they move in a unit? This is the very first time we seen a black nigga go full Blixby. What's the white Klansman name? Outside of Sammy Davis Jr., nigga, you never seen this. You never seen one of us go full white Klansman with them. Well, you got a black Klansman running with them. You never seen that. But how long have we seen Zionists running with the evangelicals, right? Or neo-Nazis or Klansmen up in Hollywood pushing propaganda with the Jewish people, and we the targets. We the targets. Yeah, Clayton Bixby. This is the first time we seen a nigga go full Clayton Bixby in our lifetime, right? And the Klansmen welcome him in like he's a Klan's brother, because he got on the black hood like he did yesterday on the motherfucking TV. We never seen that. It's the first time ever. But we seen them niggas in bed plenty times together. They was just in the White House running the whole motherfucking administration for 4 years with a Zionist as the son-in-law, right? And then neo-Nazis and nationalists, you know what I'm saying, giving motherfucking cues to the president. You got a Zionist in one ear representing the interests of Israel, and then you got this nigga in this ear, right, talking about white nationalism and how they tie directly into America First concepts, the Nick Fuentes shit. Shit don't make no sense. Yeah, he's a black skinhead now. Just like his song. Right? And his conflict is always going to be what? Just as we said yesterday. And his conflict is inherent. We shouldn't laugh at it or turn a blind eye to it, because secretly and quietly, you know, the majority of us are still subconsciously conflicted the same way. Okay? You are in a melanated body with a white mind. You know what I'm saying? You running around calling yourself a black God, but you believe in white Christ. Something ain't, the math ain't mathing. And that shit creates what's called cognitive dissonance. And it's going to manifest itself as a sickness in people's body and their minds. That's why the mental illness is at an all-time high. Because niggas is batshit crazy. Imbued by the spirit of Christ, but skewed by thinking that he's white. That's what this nigga is integrally inflicted with. And it's not just him alone. And it's not just him alone. So let's not throw rocks. Let's not point fingers. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. And if you have freed yourself from that mental slavery, then there's a platform, there's a podium, right? For you to fucking stand on and tell us your methods, my nigga. I want to know, right? I got a whole live that I'm willing to do with you, right? I've got a whole live. Let's hear your methodology. Let's hear your methodology. How did you break free, nigga? Let me see your broken chains too. Let me see them. So if you have not intentionally addressed this issue yourself and knowingly put white Christ on the motherfucking in the ground where he belongs, take his ass off the cross, don't put him in a cave, dig a fucking hole, bury the nigga, right? And be like, herein lies Caesar Borgia. Now, that's a mental exercise that you can do for yourself to take this nigga down off that fucking cross, put his ass in a fucking ground where he belongs, right? And let the goddamn worms take care of him. We have to rival that concept that is cancerous to our consciousness. And until you do that, how can you be mentally free from the box that they have put people's minds in? They have triangulated people's minds and put them in a box. And we're in denial to saying, oh, nah, we got it from here. No, you don't. Where's your black Christ at? Black Christians. Right? Where's your black Madonna at? Black woman is God. Like these things need to have, their time in the sun. They need to have their expressions. They need to be hoisted equally, to challenge the false narrative, which is cancerous to this planet. It is decimating and destroying the planet, and they're doing it under the cover to say, oh, this is white folks. No, it's not white folks. This is religion. Just doing this destruction, cancerous destruction of this planet, decimating, ecosystems and just making animals extinct and shit like that. It's the crusader colonizer mindset. And colonization, even though it's a land grab, it is done under the guise of religion, of Christianity in particular. So that shit has to motherfucking... Yeah. That's it for the day. Here I am thinking of you. Show some love. The Cash App is right there. Show some appreciation for this pillar perspective. That's all you got. You know what I'm saying? If it was a pillar perspective, this is how I see things. You know what I mean? And how I can best share the vision and the insight and the perspective so you can be better objective when it comes to the news and you won't be so confused. You feel me? Moving out here in the open sea. You know what I mean? Because the pirates is out. The pirates is out there, and they're out to take your booty, literally. Pause. Right? Your birthright. Your birthright. The thing that you own that you couldn't sell if you wanted to. That thing that should be so motherfucking important to you. The thing that ties you to your ancestors, to your ancestral history and memory. Your ability to stand up and grab a pear. That's what's being threatened. Look. What about Enoch? What about Enoch? Right? Is this nigga Ashkenazi? Solomon and them, they was Ashkenazis? What happened? What happened? How come everybody seems to forget? This nigga right here, this is Judas. This is Judas. Look, he's standing on the coins, though. Right? What is that telling you? He's standing on the coins. Feel me? He got big bling. You know what I'm saying? This nigga got big bling on. He got a whole chain on his shit with a piece. Look at my nigga's piece. His shit, they blinged out, nigga. They got chest plates. You know what I'm saying? They got chains that excite the feds. QB shit. Got a flame on his head. Got a coin on the back. He's standing on them coins. Standing on them coins, y'all. Yeah, man, it was a free lecture. You know what I'm saying? So, we're gonna clear it up. I'm working on a studio. This is putting it all together, and working on a studio. That's your donations is going towards everything dealing with building out this apparatus. You feel me? So we can tell the news in a holistic perspective, the way that it deserves to be told. We could bring this shit full circle, bring it home with some respect, put some respect on our name, put some respect on our ancestors, put some respect on the legacy, put some respect on the time that we took to bring these people's ancestors out of the dark age, put some respect on the fact that when the Moors conquered Europe, they allowed the Jews to coexist and exist besides them in a cosmopolitan setting, and they never dampered on their religious practices or beliefs. They allowed them to operate autonomously in freedom and equality. Put some respect on that. You feel me? And yeah, that's about it. I want to say peace, love, and light. All right. Greetings, y'all.